Hi, my name is Omar. I am one of the owners of Browner Sound in Miami, Florida. We're a repair shop and recording studio. We service all of the studios down in this area. So today I wanted to make a series of videos for this RCA BC 5B Consolette. This is from the 60s, and this is a unit that was originally a mono unit, all tube. 4-channel summing to 1 mono, and it was used in broadcast stations. It gave you the option between microphone and turntables and line levels. The idea is that you would have a live show going on, and you'd be able to switch between the audition and the program output. The audition was to listen inside the control room. The program was what was feeding out to the world, and you would do a radio show with this. You could do microphones out in other rooms and have announcers and commercials and all of that stuff in the 60s. And this is really a stunning unit because it's all tube from the preamps to the output. It's filled with transformers, so you get a really colored and beautiful sound. This was meant to be on a desk, in which everything was hardwired, so you wouldn't have had to be doing a whole lot of patching. But because this has been modified for recording studios, there is a breakout box, a custom breakout box that we made for it using our CNC, and we built the box for it, and it's even got a little RCA logo there. I'll get a little close-up on that in a second. So these two pieces come together, and there's a single 32-channel snake that connects it on the back. So these two units to have this set up in your studio, you'd have it on top of a single or a double rack, a 2U rack space, or like this where you had multiple rack spaces beneath, and this would sit right underneath here and give you access to all of the inputs and outputs. This typically, on the back is a punch panel, so it's not an easy access to anything. It'd have to terminate on a patch panel anyway, so that's included. This initial video is just to kind of introduce you to the unit and have you take a look at it, but I'm going to create a series of videos here that kind of show the functionality of this unit, because this unit in particular was our house tube recording console. So we made some significant modifications. Some of the big ones were it's now a stereo unit, so it gives you the option to have stereo left and right on one dial, or you could have it in dual mono, where you had one channel output here and another channel output here. So you'd have independent left and right, or 1 and 2, or whatever you wanted to do. We also modified it to, because the two output channels had preamplifiers in them, so we modified it so you could switch inside whether you wanted to use those preamplifiers for the summing bus or you wanted them independent. So that would give you 6. We've converted it to give you 6 inputs, all of them through transformers, and all of them, also another modification, all of them give you a direct out. So you were able to take a direct line out of each channel so you could send it to, for example, Pro Tools or to a tape machine. You could have channel 1, so you could sum it left and right to get a final mix with 4 channels. So it would be a summing mixer of 4 channels. Or you would be able to use up to 6 independent mono tube preamps coming out to Pro Tools or whatever on the patch panel. There's also some additional ins and outs here. This whole section down here gives you 12 inputs into the summing mixer, so you could use the 4 channels to sum together to left and right stereo, or, well, in addition to those 4, you could add another 12 channels from other preamps that you might have. You plug the outputs of those into here, and that would add them to the sum, so you could end up with up to 16 channels of summing through this tube output, which is really nice. We use that a lot. These are the 6-channel outputs, so you could go up to 6 out. It gave you an output of the summing bus before the tube summer here, so you could add your channels all together and then sum on something else, like on a Neve stereo Neve or an API stereo. You could use that as the summing amplifier. It also gave you a program amp in, so you could use just the tube program summing amp by itself. So you could have another summing mixer or a mixing console and go out of your summing bus out into here and just use this for the summing left and right. Then it gives you the main out, and it gives you monitor out so that you could have a separate output for your speakers to monitor in the control room. It also has we also built in a headphone amp so that you could monitor the headphones, and added a couple of knobs here that would allow you to switch them, since it only comes with one VU meter, and we didn't want to alter the physical look of the thing to add another VU meter, because now it's stereo. Now this switch allows you to switch between the left and right outputs, so you can monitor what left and right look like independently with one VU meter. And then this output control switches between the dual mono and the stereo. Some of these knobs here are still here for a use that maybe if you find some use for some switches or whatever, they're there. But they're not being used. These have to do with broadcast stuff, like for the queue and for the phones and the programs and the remote access for like telephone calls, calling in. So that stuff isn't incorporated, but the switches are still there. You could use them for something else. Anyway, it's a really beautiful unit, and we've really enjoyed using it. But our studio and our rooms are getting filled with so much equipment that unfortunately we have to kind of let it go. This is a sister console, just a little background on it. This is from the 60s. It's a sister console to one of the consoles that was in Sun Studios. These RCA and Western Electric all-tube Consolettes, as they were called, were really popular among that time when radio and recording were kind of one and the same. You had folks cutting lathes and records in recording studios or broadcasting out, and that was being kind of recorded. So these were very popular in that time, and they continue to be popular. There's a studio in California that is called, if I can remember, Linear Labs, that runs an Op-Amp Labs console and a tape machine. And if you see the control room, you'll see that they have one of these. I think they have the BC3B, which is a little bit bigger, but it's all the same preamp cards. So it's a really beautiful unit, and I can't wait to tell you a little bit more in detail. I'm going to get kind of techie and nerdy on it in the following videos, but that's basically what it is. Okay, so the first kind of series of checks I want to provide here are how the system works. I'm going to show you a little bit about the inputs and how to select between the inputs and the summer and all of that. So the first thing to note is that the breakout box below is where you do your inputs and outputs. So channels 1, 2, 3, and 4 are the four knobs here, and then 5 and 6 were these optional preamps that you could use when you're not using the summing, because the summing left and the summing right do have a preamp on them that normally, under normal circumstances, as it was used normally, they would just sit there and be used for the program out and the audition out. But since they were the same preamps as the main 4 channels, we wanted 2 more channels. We wanted 2 more free tube channels. So there's a switch inside. I'll show you those right now. Inside of the unit, this is channel 1, 2, 3, and 4, and channel 5 and 6, which is right here. These are the preamps for the main program outs, but they're identical. They're physically the same preamp. So we added a switch here where you could right here where you could switch between the program out or the direct out for this channel, and then you could also select the input, whether you wanted the microphone input into that channel or the summing network into the channel. So you could switch between whether this was a direct out or a sum out, or the input is mic or sum input. And the same thing here. Here's the switches for those right here to be able to switch between the input and the output for those units. Now both of those, this unit every one of the channels comes with the RCA input transformer, which sounds really rich and thick, and then when you switch to the mic input on these preamp from the summing mixer, we opted to use some UTC 0- or O-1s. Those are the input transformers from the Bill Putnam Pet Sounds, the Beach Boys console. So those are also very wonderful sounding, rich sounding input transformers. So right now we're set to listen to the program. These 2 additional preamps sound and work the same as the other 4. So I'm going to show you the other 4 here real quickly so that you can have a look. So the input here is being fed by a signal generator, and it's right now set to 0.1 volts. That's as low as this unit will go, and that will simulate a mic input. That's a very quiet level. And then we have the oscilloscope here, and the scope shows, right now it's currently showing 3.18 volts, and that is in accordance with the VU meter at 0. Or it says here 100, but it's actually also on the bottom, a 0. And so that is channel 1. And then I'm going to switch between the different channels here in just a second so that you can have a look. Okay, so the first input is being fed into the channel in. It is arriving, so this first switch here at the top, you can see that the VU meter is off. As when you put it into the mic position, which is down, because that is the XLR mic position, underneath is another input, which is a line level input. But this is the mic input, so this runs through the input transformer without a pad and is boosted because it's expecting a very low level mic input. So in the center position, it means that the channel is off. There's nothing coming through. When you flip it down to the mic position, you see that the signal comes through. That comes through the first tube and then through the gain switch here, or the gain knob. And as you see, as I turn this down, this gives us the adjustment in gain. And even at 0.1 volts coming in, this is it's low on the level, and you can see that just as I barely go, this thing has so much gain in hand. I believe it's 72 dBs of gain on this channel. So that's the input there on channel 1. This AP, so this used to be audition and program, but we changed that to left and right. So right now the VU meter is set to right. I'm going to switch it to left, right? And you can see that the needle kind of shifts there. I'm on left right now. So when in the center position, this is both left and right. It's feeding both sides. It's almost what you would call, a mono stereo or a centered stereo. So as I switch to one side, right now I'm sending just to the left, and that's what I'm metering. I'm metering the left, and there's the meter. If I switch to right, there's nothing on the right because I've switched to left. But now I go to center, and there it is for the right, and now I go to full right, and it's on the VU meter, and when I switch to left, it's dead. If I go to the middle, it's both on left and right. So that's the same on all channels. So I'm going to switch between the channels so that you can see it. See, I'm going to turn these off so they're not doing anything now. And it's always best practice to leave anything going to the summing mixer off so that you're not picking up any noise. It is a tube unit, so it will create some noise. As I go to channel 2, here we got no signal. I'm going to activate the microphone, and there's the signal. And same thing here. Right now I'm on the right. I'm sorry, I was on the left, and I've sent it to the right. So when I send it to the right, it's to the right, but when I send it to the left, it's off. So that's that. That's channel 2. Let's go to channel 3. Channel 3 off. Now it's on, right? Same thing. You have control here. And all of these channels are also, see there, this is 3.36. So this is close to +4. So that would be the nominal, the kind of working level is +4. There's no way to get this exactly at +4 because these are vintage Davin potentiometers, and they are actually stepped inside. They're not smooth potentiometers. They're stepped, and they're also serviceable. So if you ever need to clean them or work on them, these things last forever. They're tanks. So. But that's the way they are incremental, so they are not continuous. So you're kind of, and you can see that here as I move the knob, you'll see that that they don't move smoothly down. It's almost stepped. Do you see? So as I'm turning, it's stepped. So that's the way these internal vintage potentiometers work. Channel 4 is off until I turn it on, and there it is, and I can switch between my left and my right. Okay, so it's probably a good time to just quickly introduce the dual mono and the stereo. So when you flip to stereo, what that means is that both left and right, so we're on 4 here now, so I'm going to go left, I'm going to turn down the volume here, and you can see that the volume changes, and when I go to right, you'll see that the volume is also, oh, I'm sorry, this is channel 4. I meant to switch here. So right now, I'm going to turn down the volume here so you can see that it's there. Now when I switch to the other channel, it's there as well. And that means that when you go to stereo, you're controlling both the left and right on a single pot. right, on a single knob. So you can see that the volume, as I lower the volume here on one side, it reflects on the other. If I go to dual mono, then dual mono, this is left, right? So right now, let's look at left, right? So we're looking at left. I control left here. I'm sorry, this is right. So this, as I control right here, you can see I'm there. But when I go to left, left is different. And the reason is when you're in dual mono, you're actually have now two controls. So this is left. Sorry, this is right, right? Yeah, this is right. And then left is controlled with this knob here. So this is left. So that way you can have two different levels for whatever, if you wanted to do some different summing, or if you wanted to use the whole system as an output for a single channel or a pair of channels or something like that, then this kind of functions as, for example, the OP6 and OP7, where you had the OP7 was the mixer and the OP6 was the program amplifier. Here you have the same thing. You have your preamps, which feed the program amplifier, and you can control the two channels independently. So, you could do a bit of summing. You could have, a kick and snare on one channel being sent to one side, and you can control how much kind of preamp and post preamp gain you get on this knob, and then do the overheads independently on 3 and 4 and control how much you're sending to the power amp and how much you're destroying the preamp here. So that would give you two independent inputs and outputs. Or I'm sorry, two independent outputs. The left and the right are unjoined. And of course in stereo, now they're joined together by one knob, and that's for mixing or summing so that you can be sure that both channels are at the same level. Okay, I wanted to show you the direct out functionality here real quick. So right now I'm plugged into channel 2, and I'm plugged into so let me switch over to the main out here, and you can see that the main out is giving me a signal here, and I'm getting a signal there. So I'm going to unplug from the main out, and you'll see that it goes dead, you see? So I can take the direct output from the channel. It's still going through the summing mixer, right? But what it allows me to do is it allows me to send the signal to channel 2. I can send it out as an independent to Pro Tools. So this channel can go out, and any other channel can also go out. So for example, I can take channel 3, that's on the summing mixer. I take the direct out, and there's the signal coming out to Pro Tools. So you can do that for every channel. And now let's say, for example, you wanted to be able to send it to Pro Tools, but you didn't want it to go to the summing side. So what you could do is inside of the unit on channel 3 right here, there's a switch here that allows you to switch between the going to the summing mixer or just the direct out. So if I flip the switch right now, it's labeled there. It says sum. You can't see it from the angle map, but it says sum beneath it. If I flip it to out, right, now the output is no longer going to the summing mixer, and you see that the summer is down, right? But the signal is going to the and it's a little bit louder because you're not sharing the resistance from the summing mixer. It's going out, so that allows you to take a direct signal out of the preamp and not send it to the summing here. So you can do multiple things at the same time. You could have some channels going to Pro Tools. You could have some channels summing and giving you the out of the main. And you could do both. You could have some channels that are going both to Pro Tools as a direct channel, and you're summing them to get kind of a group. So for example, let's say you had a drum set, right? You had kick, snare, overhead, and you wanted the kick and the snare independent of the mix, and you wanted to send kick and snare directly to Pro Tools, so you would turn off you would send them both here. You'd flip the switch to just output for those two, and then you'd want the sum. Let's say you also wanted the left and right overheads to Pro Tools. You pull them out of channels 3 and 4 here. Those go direct to channels, and then you don't switch the preamp to just output. You leave it to summing. So then a copy of those two channels goes to the summing mixer, and that summing mixer you can take out of here, go through a compressor, and you can have parallel compression on your overheads. So you'd have kick, snare, overhead, overhead as 4 tracks in Pro Tools. Then those 2 tracks would also go to the sum, and you send that out through a compressor, track that as 2 tracks left and right into Pro Tools for a total of 6 tracks, but you would have kick, snare, overhead, overhead, and then parallel compression on the overheads, you know, to have multiple tracks in Pro Tools. So that's one use of the splitting of the tracks, to be able to, you know, the sending of the summing together or the independent outputs for each channel. That's one way to use it. Okay, so I wanted to quickly show how to switch between the preamps for the summing mixer to use those as microphone preamps. So this right now, I'm input on channel 4. I'm looking at the direct out for channel 4. You can see that it's on the sum. So that's coming out of the summing mixer, out of the main outs here, and the program outs. I'm sorry, the main out and the monitor outs. You can see that the direct out, which is on channel out right here, channel 4, is showing up on the meter. So we have a direct out to Pro Tools. So now let's say we wanted to use channel 5, which is typically used in the program summing area. Let's say we didn't want to do any summing. We just wanted to use that as a 5th preamp. So you'd take your mic, you'd plug it into channel 5, and I'm going to move the direct out of channel 5 over. But now we're not seeing anything. Now that's because channel 5 is wired to the program right now, to here. And the preamplifier is expecting to see something coming through on the sum of these things. But there's not. We're trying to get a direct input. So what you do is you have channel 5 plugged in, you go inside, and this unit is on a hinge. So you see, so it's there's a piano hinge down here. So you can take this button gets pushed in and twisted and it locks. You push it in and twist it the other way and it unlocks. There's one on the other side as well. And the door opens and it's got a lock, so it stays open like this, making it very easy to work inside. Now all the switching that I'm doing here now, I know my way around the system, and I'm also a tech, so I know what not to touch. I would definitely say if you're going to do a switch like that, turn the machine off, because there is high voltage in there and you don't want to get shocked. So turn the machine off, and we set this up so it would have a power plug on the, it has a switch on the power plug right here. You can see it in the back. It's an inline switch. You can turn it on and off here. So I would turn it off, but we're not going to turn it off because we know what not to touch. Now watch something dangerous happen. I'm going to flip this in. Now there's a sum in and a mic in. So the sum in is the summing mixer into the preamp. I'm going to switch that to mic in. So now it's expecting to see a different input, and that input is coming from this mic in here on channel 5. And so now you can see that now the input, you do have an input, and that input is still, this is the volume for the gain for the preamp, right? And there it is. You have the microphone coming in through a mic transformer, through the preamp here, and out of the summing bus of the main out. So that gives you what is the equivalent of an OP6 mic preamp into a program amplifier. So this is really nice for overheads or anything you want to get kind of gritty, like a Motown vocal or something like that. But that output is still not coming out directly to Pro Tools on channel 5, because the output of that preamp is going to the program amplifier output. So that output is actually coming out of here, the main out. See, if I switch to the main out here, you'll see it on the scope. But when I pull it out and go to the direct out here of channel 5, it's nothing, right? Now, that is an additional switch, and that switch is right here, where you can select for this preamp, program or output. If I leave it in program, it's traveling into the program amplifiers out there, out to the main out. If I go to output here, now it's traveling out to this output, and now we see something on the monitor. So that's the way that channel 5 works. Channel 6 works in the same way. You know, you're able to control the input and the output. So right now it's set to receive nothing at the moment because the switches aren't thrown, but it's these two switches here. And when you flip those switches, there is the output for the channel for the mic input. So that's how that works. Let me show you a couple other things, and then we'll do a quick tour of the inside of the unit and then the extras that come with the auction. Okay, so we've now changed the voltage on the signal generator to 3 volts, 3.1 volts. And we're gonna show you how to go. We were checking all the mics before, so now we're gonna check the line inputs. So the line inputs are accessible here. Down is mic, and then up is line. So when I switch to line, you'll see that that is the line input. Now for channel 1, the line, of course, is expecting much more volume than a microphone input. So that's what this is set up for. This is set up as a pad through the input transformer. So you do get the coloration of the input transformer on every one of the lines as well, which is nice because typically a line input can sometimes either not go through a transformer and go directly to the input, the grid of a tube. Sometimes that's an inexpensive way of doing it, or by setting up a pad on its own by going into the grid. So this is kind of nice to be able to go through the input transformer as well. So you get all the coloration of the channel that you would during a mic, using a mic, but it's at a line level. So that's channel 1, and then let's move on to channel 2. This is channel 2, so we got nothing until you flip it on, and there's channel 2. You know, same thing, same control of each one. Channel 3, same thing. Channel 4, same thing. Okay, so I wanted to show the summing portion of the unit. So this unit has this is the access point into the summers. So you can take a signal out. This is an insert. So this is ring is coming out and tip is coming back in. So all that means is that you can take a signal that's coming into the sum, process it, and bring it back in. But typically what you can use is just a regular cable, 1/4 inch. This is a balanced one, but it's feeding a signal in. So for example, this is a line level signal. I'm going to plug it so there's nothing on the summing bus. Or on the program. I'm going to plug it in, and there is the signal, and that's controlled by the summing, of course. And that 1, 2, 3, and 4, those are mono inputs. So anything you put in here is going to be on both the left and the right. You see. The other channels, 5 through 12, have a switch beneath that lets you choose between left, center, and right. So you can plug into 5 here, and right now it's in center, so you've got it on left and right. But if I switch it to a side, for example, now it's not on one side, but it is on the other. It's of course going to be louder, 6 dB or 3 dBs louder, actually, to be exact. Whenever you send a signal to a side in the mono, it will split between the two, and you'll always get 3 dBs less. That's just a kind of a regular thing that happens. So here, I'll put it back into the middle, and there it is back into the middle, and then I'll switch to the other side, and it's not on right, now it's on left. So this allows you to be able to choose left and right on 8 different channels, and then mono on 4 when you do your summing, and then of course you get to choose left and right on these 4 before you go to summing. So it'll give you 16 channels for summing. Of course, you need a preamp for each one of these, but you can choose left and right on all of these, and then mono here. So, for example, things that are centered would go on these. So kick, snare, bass guitar, vocal would go on these. Those are always centered. And then here you do things like overhead left, overhead right, room left, room right, guitar 1 left, guitar, double of guitar 1 right, guitar 2 left and right, and you have these for your vocals, for backing vocals left and right, and so it's a very nice it's a nice way to be able to access the tube summing that sounds so great on this with other preamps. I wanted to show you also the headphones. So right now we're sending a signal into the summing bus, and it is now centered. There we have it on both channels. I'm going to set it here to left and right, and here left and right. And so now the headphones, here's a pair of headphones. And now when you turn up the volume of the headset, let me hang this here for a moment. When you turn up the volume of the headset, you can hear it's coming through on both sides. So the stereo headphones, you can, if you tapped out of this and you went to a headphone splitter, then you'd have multiple headphones on this too. So that's a nice feature that the phone here, the one that came here, was a mono, and it wasn't really a headphone like today's headphones. It was designed for a 600 ohm mono headphone, so that was kind of useless. There are some additional things that a person, that if you wanted to continue on modding the unit, you could run the headphone out to a copy here using some of the connectors that are available in the back. I'll show you those. And this is the sort of thing that in the spirit of the original radio and audio pioneers, you mod it a little bit and you get it to where to function in the environment that you're currently working in, and that's kind of what was done here by us. We spent a lot of time, a lot of hours, and a lot of effort, and spent a lot of money to get this guy to a place where we could use it for modern recording, and it's done a great job. Let me show you real quick inside what the highlights are inside, and then what comes with the auction, so that you can kind of get a clear idea as to what you'd be receiving. Okay, so a quick tour of the unit itself. So this has 4 of the, one on each corner, of these kind of push-twist. When you push them down and you twist them, that they're closed like this, then the lid is locked. You can't get this off. When you push it in and you turn it like that, it pops up, and then the whole lid, you do that to all 4 of those, and the whole lid comes up, giving you access to the inside. Also, the front lid swings open. The same kind of push locks. It swings open like this. So this gives you full access to the unit. It's really a pleasure to work on. It's a lot easier than most other equipment today, where you need to unscrew a whole bunch of stuff and have a master's degree in stuff to even understand what's going on. But this unit is designed to be accessible and to be worked on. So here you have these are the faders from the front, the potentiometers. These can be opened and serviced and cleaned. That's the original potentiometers. Here are the reed switches. These can also be cleaned with a bit of sandpaper if you ever have any dirty stuff there. Same thing with the input switches for the microphone and line. Here you have the back of the VU meter. This can be swapped out if there's ever an issue. All of the switches are accessible. They're wafer type switches. The tubes are 12AY7s for the most part, I want to say. And this is preamplifier 6. This is preamplifier 5 for going to the program. And then you have your input 1, 2, 3, and 4. We tried to save as much of the original components that we could. The carbon comp resistors and some of the original vitamin Q capacitors. We tested everything and swapped out some parts. For example, here's some. There were some capacitors that had gone bad, like these black cats. There was a couple that went bad, and we swapped those for Sprague orange drops, which are excellent. But we tried to keep, since a lot of the tone and kind of vibe of the thing is the original parts, we kept everything that was good. All of these tubes, these are just shields. These pop right off. You can lift them off, and they sit behind a little clip. Here you can see one of the clips there. Right there, you have to lift the clip and slide this in. That's a ground that grounds the tube, the shield, so that it doesn't pick up any RF noise. This is the power supply. We changed it from a tube rectifier to a solid state rectifier for longevity and less serviceability, or need to be changing that tube. It's quieter and it's more stable. So that's a solid state rectifier. All of these capacitors, we cut these open. I don't know if you can see that there. These were cut open and replaced. All of the capacitors inside have been changed. So this unit has been fully recapped for filtering, but we wanted to keep the look of the original, so we put the cans back together so that it would look original, but this has all been serviced. This was the power relay for triggering the on-air lights in the original console. This could be reverted back to doing that, but we used that to power the relays here that we installed. These are the relays that switch between the mic and line inputs, so that you could, it switches on the transformers so that you could use the transformers for the line input and the mic input. It's properly strapped, so what that means is the relays do all the switching. So when you're in mic mode here on the front, when you've selected the mic, it is the transformer is strapped for microphone, so you have 250 ohm input to the tube, and then when you switch to line, it physically restraps. So it then straps over to the line input of the transformer, 600 ohms. So that way your impedance is correct, and you're accessing the transformer in the best way that you possibly can. It's getting the most kind of coloration and proper use of the transformer that you could possibly get on a unit like this. And we had to do it with relays, just because it was too many things to switch for a switch. But these relays here can be turned back into the on-air lights if you wanted to kind of have that as part of the system This is the patch panel. This is where all of the cables would be terminated. So all the microphone inputs and all of the turntable outputs would all be put in here. And these are soldered in, and this is a real pain to work on, not XLR or anything like that. So that's why we converted that. There is this cable that comes up through the bottom, and you can see it through there, and that runs the span of the patch port and everything. That's the cable that comes out of the bottom and goes to the box on the front, the patch panel on the front. It's a single cable, so everything is there. The only other cable that's coming out of the back is this small adapter that goes to the headphone amp. So this is a separate power. So that you'll have to run power for, but that comes with it, of course. And then here, this is the main power cord that has the switch here that turns the unit on and off. Let's see. This section here, this used to be this is the program output, and then there was a different transformer here, and a different card here that gave you the monitor output for the control room. So it was a mono program out and a mono control room listen. But I was able to find, luckily, the exact same program transformer, and then I hand-made and hand-cut on a CNC a circuit board to match the mono program. So then this became left and this became right. I believe it's left and right. So you have the two outputs, and I got rid of the monitoring, since most monitoring nowadays is done with an external monitoring system like a Dangerous D box or a Persona Central Station. So there's no need to have power to power speakers anymore. That's all done, on other equipment. So I opted to choose left and right. However, you do get the original monitor output, so the transformer. So this is the monitor output transformer. In this bag is the original card that went there. That went in this position here. So you could theoretically revert back to the original setup. I don't know why you would do that. I mean, having a stereo output is much more useful than having a monitor output. But if this is a museum piece or something like that, everything is included from the original, so you could bring this right back to exactly where you wanted or where it was originally manufactured. So all of this comes with the auction. The cable runs out down here and goes to the breakout box. The breakout box is included in the auction as well. It's all part of the same unit. You also get the monitor transformer. You also get the original monitoring card. You also get a printed manual, which is this is a very nice manual, service manual. It's got all the schematics. It's got long pages with the schematics, fold-out pages that show you all the wiring for the unit in its original form. I will also provide any additional schematics notes that I had made in the transformation. You also get this pack of stickers that well, they're not stickers. They're labels. You have to put them on with rubber cement. But this allows you to take these. These were matched on the front for the color of the front panel. You can cut these out and put them, like for example, left and right. You can cut out those words there and stick them in the same way that we stuck these labels. You can put them here for left and right instead of A and P. And you can, there's different monitor gain and master gain, master output. I believe that there are, there's left and right and stereo, and I tried to get all the labels here. So mic 1 and mix 1, line 1, those would take the place of mic 1 and mix 1. So you could do that if you'd like. We just I knew what was going on, so I didn't have to have that. But that's the unit. It's a beautiful unit, and I hope that it finds a happy home.